Oh, baby, do we have a good show for you guys today. I am Jake Butt. He is Adam Breneman. This is the Butt and Breneman Show, and it's a very special edition because we have the Breneman Bowl here on the Big Ten Network this weekend. I am the lucky one that gets to call it. Yes, that is UMass playing Penn State. Adam Breneman, you know both teams really well, right? All-American at both. Were you All-American at both schools?
Freshman All-American at Penn State, a real All-American at UMass. But Jake, all I'm requesting is that in your open on camera calling the game, I want you to call it the Breneman Bowl. Okay. That's all I want.
I heard that they're like 3D printing your head. It's going to be a trophy game in the future.
Oh, that'd be great. I'd appreciate it. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun game. It's Penn State's 42-point favorites, but a lot to play for. Penn State coming off a bye week. They historically have not been very good off bye weeks under James Franklin for whatever reason. That we can dive into that whole thing. But Penn State needs to come out and play well and be explosive on offense and show they can push the ball down the field. I mean, you've seen their team a couple times, yeah. Jake. I'm excited to see how they do against a team that they should be able to run the ball on. They should be able to throw the ball. They should be able to do what they want on offense. They need to be explosive.
Yeah.
And for UMass, it's your Super Bowl, man. You got a chance to knock off the big dogs. No one expects you to win it. So I expect UMass to take shots and try to stay in this game and get it to the second half with a one score, 10-point game, and give yourself a chance.
I'm not a huge stat guy, but I do think sometimes stats apply. I'm a huge strategic stat guy. So as far as the explosive plays go, no one has given up more plays of 40-plus yards than UMass in the country. So they've been handing them out over one a game at this point.
It's a gift. They're giving them out.
It's a gift. And, if you're Penn State, that leads to a fork in the road. That doesn't mean, okay, great. It does mean from an opportunity standpoint. But what it really means is you have to maintain that standard. If everyone else did it and you do it, okay, good. You proved it. If everyone else has done it and you didn't do it, that will add to maybe some of the concern. I don't know. They're so good. I don't know that it's exactly a concern. It's just a point to look out for the team. So that's a big one. Couple games in the East. But really, there's one game in the West we have to hit on because in that cloudy, uncertain West, there's two teams that have really stood out, and that's Wisconsin and Iowa. They meet this weekend. I just want to give you the broad picture here. What are you looking for in this matchup?
Well, it's the Big Ten West money game. I mean, the whatever team wins this game has the path now to getting a chance to knock off whoever comes out of the Big Ten East in the Big Ten championship game. So this game is as big as it's going to get in the Big Ten West. We're still figuring out what is Iowa without Cade McNamara. What's their offense going to look like? Deacon Hill, who replaced McNamara, didn't look great last week, 6 of 21 passing. So need to get that offense more efficient. And for Wisconsin, still implementing that new spread Phil Longo system. Tanner Mordecai is still kind of figuring it all out. I think both offenses have to play efficient in this game and have to be able to move the ball. We know what the kind of defense Iowa brings to the table. We know how Wisconsin likes to play their style of play. But the most efficient offense in this game, I think, wins.
Yeah, and part of that efficiency, right, is particularly as it applies for Mordecai in Wisconsin in that air raid offense. Can't turn the ball over. He hasn't played in the Big Ten before. He's never played Iowa before. So, I just think that part of this is fascinating because part of the meetings this week as an offense in the quarterback room and in his individual meetings, Phil Longo and Luke Fickell have to say, hey, listen, if there's ever a game for you to throw the ball away or hit your check down, it is this game. We will punt all day long. But if you get greedy, this can – and I would even go as far to say identify number 3, Cooper DeJean. Wherever he is – think twice before throwing it that way because he doesn't drop interceptions either, and that's really been the formula for Iowa's victories. When you look at this Iowa offense, Adam, what can you take me inside? What's the locker room like? Because we continue to say the same things, and I've been trying to explore this angle with people I've had conversations with. What's the locker room like? Of course, we talk about it every week, and we say it hasn't been good enough. They still win games, but the offense, it's just there's been a little light here, but for the most part, it just hasn't met the standard. And I know that can be frustrating. Is there anything that you think, is worth mentioning as far as what the locker room is like in a big week like this?
Yeah, I think the first thing that that Kirk Ferentz and the leaders on this Iowa team have to do is start to erase the doubt in the minds of the Iowa offense. And you lose your quarterback. Everyone's talking about your offensive coordinator and his contract and how he needs to average more points a game.
Yeah.
There's so much outside noise of people telling you how your offense hasn't been up to par for the last couple of years and now this season. And then you lose your veteran quarterback. I think there's a lot of the doubt can start to creep into the mind, and in the locker room, you have to erase it as soon as possible. And I remember Bill O'Brien when I was at Penn State, we weren't playing very well. And at some point in the season, and we had dropped the game to Indiana, we got shut out on offense. I remember Bill O'Brien came into that meeting the day after, and instead of ripping into everyone and screaming at everyone, what he did was put a cut up of film together of the best players on the team making big plays in practice. I remember he had one of me making a one-handed catch in the back of the end zone. And his point was he showed all the plays and said, this guy's really freaking good. And this guy will play in the NFL. And these are all players on our team. Christian Ackberg is one of the best quarterbacks in the country. We have a running back that'll get drafted. And his point was like building confidence in the players and saying like, we are really good on offense. We have to go play like it now. But I think that's kind of the what needs to happen. This Iowa offense needs some confidence. They ran the ball well against Purdue. They averaged 5+ yards a carry, which is going to win you a lot of games. So I just think the passing game, the new quarterback, they need to build some confidence, and the leaders and Brian Ferentz, Kirk Ferentz have to instill that in their players.
Yeah, man, I'm glad you said that. And that perfectly answers the question of, most people would think, okay, it hasn't been good enough. Yell at them, get in them, rip into them. And that's not always the case, actually. Like, a quality coaching staff knows how to level you out, right? If it's really good, sometimes that's when you get chewed, right? Like that's when you get chewed out. When it hasn't been good, you got to find ways to keep guys' head in it. The players know going into the meeting. They know what they know. They don't need us to say it. They don't need the coaches to say it. They know the deal. So that's a good point. I would also, you brought up a great point of the OC and the quarterback. It's on the other guys too. I mean, they've had a significant amount of drops over the past recent weeks. Look, if the ball hits you in the chest, you got to come down with it. Simple, right? So this is a big game. Just to even add to the implications here, Iowa already lost to Penn State, so they're down one in terms of the Big Ten West race. Well, they can tie it up with Wisconsin this week, and Wisconsin still has to play Ohio State later in the season. Also, the winner of this game has the tiebreaker. Wisconsin's still undefeated in the Big Ten race. So there's so many implications. Those of us that are dying to find out some clarity in the West will all be tuned in this weekend. So excited to see that. So let's just follow me here on the map of the United States of America. We started in Penn State. We worked our way west. We talked some Wisconsin, we talked some Iowa. Now we're going to go even further out west to future Big Ten teams who have a massive game this weekend, Oregon versus Washington. Colossal game. And this is also why I was so excited to have you in here, because you have a excellent podcast. Just kind of fill us in. You interviewed multiple staff members. You visited with both Oregon and Washington. First off, what's the name of your podcast? Where can people listen to it? And maybe if you could start with Oregon. I know you just interviewed Dan Lanning recently. Just big picture thoughts.
I appreciate the plug, Jake. It's Next Up with Adam Breneman. You can listen to it wherever you get your podcasts. Part of the reason I wanted to go see Washington and Oregon was because of their move to the Big Ten. And as a Big Ten guy, excited for them to join the conference. It's funny, man. I was at Oregon last week. Did not have a game I was calling 2 weeks ago. So I went to see Oregon last Monday. So Dan Lanning, after the Colorado game, had reached out to me on Instagram and said, "Hey, do you want to come out and do a podcast? We have a bye week. They had a bye week last week." So I went out and got to spend some time around the program, meet Dan Lanning in person, spend some time with their coordinators. I mean, I'll tell you, number one, that place is excited to move to the Big Ten. We talked about it a lot, and normally you wouldn't talk about it in season, right, Jake? Like your coaches, We're not talking about 2024. Oh, they were, they everyone I talked to said that they couldn't wait to be part of the Big Ten. And I think they knew, obviously, I was coming from Big Ten country. So that was a topic of conversation. The number one thing that stands out at Oregon and Dan Lanning's program is the level of detail in every part of that program. The level of detail in the signs that are in the facility, the timing of their day at practice, and how they go from drill to drill, on the minute, on the dot. I mean, every part of Dan Lanning's program is high end. It's detailed. It's the top of college football, and it makes sense. Dan Lanning's been around Kirby Smart and Nick Saban. He's been around two guys that have done it at a high level for a really long time. So that place is amazing and a great facility. And then over the summer, went out to Washington, and first of all, I don't know if you've been out there, but it is a beautiful setting. It has to be one of the best scenes in college football, overlooking the lake in Seattle. It's unbelievable. And another great program. You can feel the culture and the confidence that place has. Kalen DeBoer has done a great job. They have a quarterback who's one of the best in the country, Michael Penix Jr., and they're excited for the move to the Big Ten. So it was cool to kind of have those guys and on the podcast and get to spend some time around the programs. That's the fun part for me, right? It's not really about the interviews and the podcast. It's like getting to go spend a day around the program and getting the access and getting to see everything and meet everyone and meet the athletic directors. And it was a really cool experience.
Yeah, you do a great job, man. And again, it's next up with Adam. I mean, look, this is the fun part about the kind of world we live in right now, is the access we get to our athletes, to our coaches, through social media, through podcasting. You do a good job of interviewing them. So for the Big Ten fans that want a preview of that, beyond what you just laid out, go ahead and check out those episodes. As far as the game goes, you look at it, two great offenses in the Pac-12. Oregon's defense has been more steady than Washington's defense, but maybe no one has a better quarterback and group of skill position than Washington right now. Is there a couple areas you think will decide this game?
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time thinking about the Oregon versus Washington battle and really where you put them in your top 10. I mean, I've gone back and forth on that, is which team's better. I think right now Oregon's the most complete team in the Pac-12. I think they have the best chance of making the college football playoff and winning out the Pac-12. But this game, man, it's going to be a battle of the quarterbacks. I mean, it's going to be Bo Nix against Michael Penix Jr., who can be more efficient on offense, who takes care of the football, and who can be the most explosive. I mean, that's what every game comes down to. But this one, especially with the style of offenses both these teams play, it's a big one, man. I mean, I was when I was at Oregon, I sat in some of their meetings, and they were on a bye week, but it did not feel like a bye week around that building.
Wow.
Because even Dan Lanning, I heard him talk to the team. I heard Will Stein, their offensive coordinator, talk to the team, and they were saying, "Hey, it's a bye week, but we all know what's coming up in about 12 days." And it's everyone knows how big this game is. They know the implications of it, and it's also a chance, I believe, for a guy like Bo Nix, who's been through so much in college football, who has gone through the gauntlet of the Auburn fans trashing him, of transferring, now his Heisman campaign. This is a career-defining game for Bo Nix. And how does he perform on the biggest stage he's had to date?
Yeah, man, I even going back to last year, the foot has been on the gas. They are flying downhill, and that's a credit to Dan Lanning. The team follows the head coach, but they're facing an explode. I mean, seriously, we saw it. Michigan State fans saw it. Those that have followed Washington have seen it. I mean, you could go down the list of weapons, and Michael Penix certainly has a case to be one of the best quarterbacks, top 2, top 3, top 5 for sure quarterbacks in college football. But just my thoughts, just to get involved in this conversation. The defensive side, when you look at the quarterback battle, it's two great quarterbacks, two veteran quarterbacks, two experienced quarterbacks. What are they facing? And when you consider it from that point of view, again, Washington's defense hasn't been as complementary as Oregon's defense has to their offense. So you'll look at the quarterbacks. I am excited to see how both defenses perform, because really I think the winner of this game it's a clear path to win the Pac-12 and a clear path to get to the playoffs. That in mind, Oregon really is the most complete team up until this point. So this is their opportunity. kind of highlights the point you made of being on a bye week and the emphasis they have. Though everything you just said was a subtle reminder to me and to Oregon fans and to fans of college football. They clearly believe that they have something special and they're capable of making a splash this year. So it's time to do it this weekend. So we're excited. Well, guys, listen, we hit just about everything. We hit you the East Coast. We worked our way out west. We love when you guys tune in and spend some time with us. Make sure, give us some comments. What are some other storylines you guys would like to hear in the future? We'd love to hit on that. Any questions you guys have, we'll try to get to them next week. So Adam, man, thanks so much for joining us. Can't wait to see the winner of this weekend hoist the bust of Adam Breneman with a big smile in the Breneman Bowl as UMass takes on Penn State. So thank you, man. I'll talk to you next week.
Appreciate it, man.